What is up, everybody, and welcome to a brand new Sean Said Go video. Today, we're going to be talking about one of the biggest issues in WoW, and I want to say this is an issue that's been spanning across expansions. I mean, this has been going on ever since I think they implemented the first expansion, because this is the problem with transmog. It's not even necessarily transmog with a certain race, but this tends to happen more often, I'd say most often, to our fellow furry characters out there, especially our Worgens, Vulpera for sure. Definitely not Drakthir. I've seen plenty out there of Drakthir. They get their tiny little hats and stuff like that, and stuff gets tuned for them well for whatever reason. But it seems like the problem with transmog has been really burdening this game for a really long time. And I want to talk about what I think are the probable solutions, the ways that this is going to be solved, because we don't want to be negative Andys all the time. Let's be some positive Pauls if we can help it. And so before I jump into this, of course, thank you all for subscribing to these videos and liking these videos. I do appreciate all the support. We are on the road to 1,000 subscribers. So if you're sitting here and if you watched a few of these videos and you are liking them, a lot of you like the thumbnails, then please do like and subscribe. And of course, follow us on Twitch as well. That way you can catch us when we go live, also on Sean Said Go. All right, let's jump into it. So the first one, obviously, is a hair clipping. And this is the one that I see quite a bit with, of course, headwear. Headwear is usually the biggest issue causer. But it's not just these. It's usually anything that goes from shoulders and up. And I would say maybe legs and down. But this one says, and I want to side with this person because it says 100% guarantee you they don't fix it because it's not that easy. Stuff like this is a bit more complicated than if clip, then don't, such and such. Now defending them per se, they should invest the resources to fix this. It's embarrassing, but I think this fix would be part of the overall fix at a very deep engine level, which takes away from the resources they couldn't invest for new zones. They should take time to rework stuff like this, but we saw what happened in WoD when if they do, I'm never sure if they don't invest that time, they're afraid of something that's happening again. This is the tried and true argument that anytime you criticize WoW, they say, but if you do, our monthly cost is going to increase. If you do, which I is probably the most commendable thing on WoW. I will say, I mean, all these years and it's still $15 a month. It is impressive. It is impressive. But at the same time, things are released bugged, or they're released, they clip, and then if you never fix them, you'll never have to spend more than you intended. But if anything gets fixed, then you're spending more resources than you intended, and then if you just did it right the first time. So that's my argument against that, I suppose. But I just like the argument of it's too hard for them. Just I don't know, like figure it out then. Like I'm not the game developer, you are. You do it. Getting tired of this argument. It's could be worse. Male Worgen usually have high collars sticking right out of the middle of their neck. It's like, no, here is a picture of some purple feet instead. I will say purple feet does quell a lot of people's anger issues. Have you seen my thumbnails? So I will say, but in case you were thinking this is just a single case, Sean, I don't think this is a good enough case. There you go. There was a bug with Vulperas in the tier 2 and they fixed it. It was fixed. But this is one of those things that if you're adding a tier 2 and you're putting it in because monks didn't exist back then, so we're going to give monks one, but we're going to forget that certain characters have additional parts to their face and it's going to stick out and it's going to look weird. I mean, this one says this might be a world first. That's 514 updates, if that means anything. Like, it says now that's a really good change. Now if they go back and do 20 years worth of gear, do the same thing for Worgen snouts. And it's funny how the Vulpera get it fixed, but I'm going to show you one later about Worgens, and that one is just, it's embarrassing, yo. I really don't understand the Worgen helmet options, why they're so bad. My Worgen either shows no helmet or only shows goggles. And the thing is, a lot of the Worgen and the Drakthir like models could be potentially shared, because I think the solution with characters with the strange face shapes is to shrink hats, helmets, just basically a coverall. Like it doesn't matter if it reshapes the face. I'd rather have a covered helmet, even if it's slightly larger than normal, than try to have something that's like form-fitting, and it's just not going to work out. I've been putting bug reports every week since a couple months ago into Yggdrasil to fix Sergeant Quacker's. When you give him a magical pet biscuit, his helmet doesn't increase in size, so it's stuck in his head. Justice for Sergeant Quackers. Then another one. This one's one of the worst ones I've seen. It's, if you've never seen this before, you have the foot models. Anything that shows feet, instead of modifying it to and keeping the foot style, they'll simply enlarge the feet and like balloon them up. Like you can see like the toenail like grows like massively tall, and they become feet shaped boots. Like they become enlarged. It's ridiculous how they look. It's embarrassing. Like we haven't figured this out. We've had stuff like this since the beginning of WoW. This is a problem with a handful of barefoot shoes. The foot is using the shape of a boot instead of a foot. I believe the summer sandals had the issue where people kept complaining about it and got it fixed. It looks like you have club feet, not club foot, club feet. And this is a bug. I want to be fair. This was a bug. I just thought it was funny because someone said General Kenobi. General Kenobi. This is great. But come on, guys. Like, look at Worgen's. Worgen's going through it right now. Like, this looks awful. Like, this looks awful. This, yeah, it's bad, but I guess at least it looks like, I don't know, like a neck cover, I suppose. But come on, it just looks so bad. As a Worgen main here, you just have to accept it. All throat scarves and eye patches for us. I gave up on any other helm years ago, and it just kind of limits the transmog. And it's not that transmog is the most important thing. I don't want to be like blow up and be like oh yeah, this is the worst thing to come to WoW. But I mean, like, it seems to consistently happen even with new gear where these things aren't adjusted for when you have a large series of class or races, as well as hairstyles that interfere or clip with hair. And it's like, have you not found out a system? Figure out a system. Like, figure out a system to make this work. I mean, I'm not a developer, but I feel like there's got to be a way for you to go, okay, if hairstyle this, the hair is going to look like this on the helm. If it's a long hairstyle, it'll look like this. It'll default to this. If the face shape is this, there's going to be something that'll change to. But the problem goes deeper, because if you look at some of these transmogs, it looks like they rendered these pixels on a Windows 98 computer. And the reasoning why, and someone says it here, it says, I think we deserve higher quality textures on shields released in 2024. We deserve a lot of stuff, brother, but good point. I think someone says it down here. It says, for whatever reason, they seem to make these assets very small, as in when they're making these shields and weapons in general, then stretching them out. Nearly all Tank Legion artifacts had this issue, while DPS artifacts looks mostly fine. Because when you put them on a large character, they do not scale. I hate to break it to you, but there's stuff in game that can make you massive. I think everything needs to be made to scale massively if that's the case. Not necessarily to like have at least have a higher starting point. But these are clearly stretched out. Like I've done this too, where I thought zooming in a photo would fix it and make it bigger. That's not how technology works. So I mean, why can't we get like a basic understanding? A basic understanding of, you have characters who are bigger, so give them a few more pixels, or have your base models achieve for the biggest size person. And yes, I like this. I understand with smaller characters, you might have to create a sort of smaller variant to go off of, maybe with less textures, maybe so the textures don't look too jumbled and condensed, so that you can still get the full image of the photo. I get that. I've done images with emotes and stuff like that, and how small they can get. When they get super small, it's really hard to see what the details are. So there's less detail, less going on in a smaller one. But come on, like. Not everybody's a gnome, and even still, you got to have them scale it to at least the largest character, at least. But like I said, this issue is extended far beyond. It says, if I get Thunder Fury on my goblin, will it also stick in the ground like this? Like, this is something that goes way back to these days where something like this should have been adjusted and made for people who were smaller stature, because you always had gnomes. And so if you never made this for them, then you're just not making anything for anybody. You're just making it for the standard human denominator. I feel like they just the one standard size person, and everybody else can bin it. But it's simple as like, just rotate it around, have them stick in the sky, I guess. Like, you know, just do it that way. That way it sticks up instead of down. It's not that this is so important, but like, it's just embarrassing. It's just embarrassing to see. But this is my sort of light at the end of the tunnel. And I think this is a good standard. This is a Kavartu on Reddit. They have a few of these. They have a Paladin one as well. But I think this would be a good standard for some of these transmogs, sort of establishing a standard for how certain types of gear should look on characters. This one establishing this is what pants look like, this is what the skirt looks like, here's the edits. And I like how in this, basically it combines the use of the pants and the skirt's in the back, but you can still see the leg movement, because if you've worn any sort of basically dress here in WoW, it just looks like you're stretching, like you're stretching your legs and doing sort of like, I gotta go to use toilet walk. So just a basic edit to go, this is an option that you can do your transmog. You can do a pants version, you can do a sort of a modified open kilt version, and you do the full skirt version if you prefer that instead. But give people that option, give people those chances to make those modifications. So if they don't like the style, they can still have the same wear, but with just some slight variations. So I like these open concepts of the skirts. And then same thing with the hair. So like going back to the hair, you know, make it to where anybody who has a long hairstyle in the back, if instead of it going out, it's going to go over the shoulder in the front instead. So instead of clipping with your gear, it just goes to the front and it goes over your chest instead. Like just something like that, to where it's like, if this, then that. But I feel like basic things like this might be good to establish those standards to make it different. And I know it exists, because it exists in the Sylvanas transmog. The Sylvanas transmog has 4 different variants that you can use, and in those variants, you can choose different ones to suit your needs. Now, it's mostly just a style purpose, but why not give variants that everyone can use, but you could say this is the one meant for Worgen. So like this is the one meant for Worgen, so it'll fit Worgen's well. The other ones may not fit well, but at least Worgen has an option, you know, and maybe you can just, the other ones, they might work out for you too as well. Like give people the variant options, at least with the major set pieces, you know, like that's important to people, I think, to have those major sets have those variant options. But we know it can exist, and we know it can exist in 2024, but just why not now? And if you're thinking like, well, this is a now issue, transmog wasn't an issue then, you know, like people didn't care back then, they just dealt with it. I hate to break it to you, brother. This is from 2008. Says, do you think they'll ever fix all character model armor clipping problems? My character is Draenei male, and I can't even remember. 16 years ago. Remember the last time I had a pair of shoulders that didn't clip through my head? every time I attack. This is a problem with shoulders. It's a problem with weapons. It's a problem with scale. It's a problem with almost any aspect of gear. And if you're thinking, well, the legs and chest are fine, right? Well, the legs and chest almost had 0 dimension. We were all wearing like yoga pants and like skin tight shirts before then. So we didn't even have the pixels to even think about it. But still, even with shoulders, they're like stabbing you in the face because they're too large, because they're not scaled properly to your character, because Draenei are bulky at the top. And any character with hooves is known that did like no pants, and that stuff looks weird. Or wrist guards, they don't even show it. It doesn't matter. Like no sets include the look for them because, I don't know, I guess they don't matter. So it's like, can we get some standards established for these pieces of gear so we can actually use them? Because this has been a problem, as far as I know, since the beginning of WoW. So like, let's establish a standard moving forward. Maybe not fix everything in the past, but establish a standard moving forward, because this is a problem up until the most recent transmog that's been released. So it's just unfortunate. And this is going into my argument of, I personally believe that we are, with each expansion, not only are we leaving behind the methods of gameplay, but we're also leaving behind the classes that were made. We're leaving behind allied races. We're leaving behind any sort of transmog effects or efforts. But then we do stuff like this that's supposed to be like, hey, we know you guys don't have a tier 2 because you didn't exist when tier 2 existed, but here's something. But then it gets like, then like 80% of players go, oh, well, I guess it's just not going to look good on me. Like, oh, well, or I guess I'll wear not the helm and I'll change it out for something else that doesn't have a mask that doesn't cover my face. You know, like it just these unfortunate things that when I say I love these things being released because it's great nostalgia, but it's released in a bit of a bittersweet way. This is what I mean. This is what I mean that it's like, if you get these complaints from your customers who really care about transmog, and if you go to Final Fantasy, people love their transmog. Do not mess with their transmog. But something like this, where you do have a major transmog community, maybe not as major, but as Final Fantasy, but it's still pretty major. And then you have things like this. It's like, well, this thing was cool, but I guess I can't fully experience it or appreciate it. It lets people down, and people get let down, and it's an unfortunate side effect of things. So that's all I got for this one. Hope you enjoyed the video. What are some of the worst transmogs combinations that you've seen in the game, and some of the things maybe I missed or skipped over? And then if you're on the dev side, you know, like, what are some of the things that you've seen maybe other games do, or that you know of, that would be a fix for this? You know, we all have like Lego hair that kind of like, it's like one piece. It's kind of confusing. So I'd love to hear it in the comments of what you guys got. But like I said earlier, like the video, subscribe to the video if you liked it, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.